If you cannot control your mind will control you. That is the silent war most people lose every single day. Not against other people. Not against the world. Against themselves. Every morning, they make promises. This time I'll change. This time I'll stay disciplined. This time I'll stay focused. But a few hours later, distraction returns. Excuses return. Comfort returns. And slowly, they become the same person again. Most people think consistency is about motivation. That is why they fail repeatedly. Because motivation is unstable. It changes with mood. With weather. With emotions. With comfort. One difficult morning is enough to destroy it. Stoicism teaches something far more powerful. Consistency is not emotional. It is a decision repeated daily regardless of emotion. That is what makes someone dangerous. Not talent. Not intelligence. Not luck. Discipline. The ability to act even when the mind resists. The ability to continue even when nobody is watching. The ability to remain focused when everything inside you wants comfort instead. That is rare. Because most people are slaves to impulse. If they feel tired, they stop. If they feel bored, they quit. If they feel discomfort, they escape. Their emotions control their actions. And because of that, their lives remain unstable. The Stoics understood something the modern world ignores completely. A weak mind creates a weak life. If your emotions control you, distraction will control you. If comfort controls you, laziness will control you. If impulse controls you, your future will collapse slowly without you noticing. That is why self-mastery matters. Because the person who controls themselves becomes impossible to manipulate. Impossible to distract. Impossible to break easily. History has always respected disciplined people. Not because they were perfect. But because they were reliable. Consistent. Focused. Dangerous in their ability to continue. There was once a man who dreamed of changing his life completely. He had ambition. Goals. Vision. But every day looked the same. Wake up late. Waste time online. Delay important work. Promise himself tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow never changed. Years passed this way. One evening, he sat alone looking at his unfinished plans. Books he never finished reading. Ideas he never started. Goals he never pursued. And for the first time, he stopped blaming circumstances. He stopped blaming lack of opportunity. Lack of support. Lack of motivation. And he faced the truth honestly. His biggest enemy was inconsistency. Not because he lacked intelligence. But because he lacked discipline. That realization changed everything. The next morning, he woke up early despite not wanting to. He worked despite resistance. He stayed focused despite distraction. Not because he suddenly became motivated. But because he finally understood something powerful. Consistency is built through action, not emotion. That day was difficult. The next day was difficult too. His mind fought him constantly. Telling him to stop. Rest. Delay. Escape. But he continued anyway. Day after day. And slowly, something changed. His mind became quieter. Discipline became easier. The actions that once felt impossible became normal. Months later, his life looked completely different. Not because of one massive moment. But because of small disciplined actions repeated consistently. That is how transformation really happens. Quietly. Daily. Through habits. Through discipline. Through the refusal to quit. In this video, you will learn 5 ruthless Stoic lessons that build dangerous consistency. These lessons are uncomfortable. But they are powerful. Because they destroy weakness at the root. If you are serious about becoming mentally strong, focused, and disciplined, subscribe to this channel to get more of this. Because your future is shaped by what you repeatedly do. 1. Stop negotiating with yourself. Most people lose their battles before the day even begins. Not because the challenge is impossible, but because they negotiate with weakness. The alarm rings. And instantly the conversation begins. 5 more minutes. I'll start tomorrow. I deserve rest today. Those tiny negotiations seem harmless. But they are shaping your identity. Every time you break your own word, your mind notices. Every excuse weakens self-respect. A young man once dreamed of becoming disciplined. He admired disciplined people deeply. People who woke up early. People who trained hard. People who stayed focused while others distracted themselves. He wanted that identity badly. But every morning, he betrayed himself. The alarm would ring at 5. He would immediately begin negotiating. Justifying. Rationalizing. Delaying. And eventually, he would quit before the day even started. At night, he hated himself for it. Not because waking up early was impossible. But because he knew he lacked control over himself. That truth haunted him quietly. One winter morning changed everything. The room was freezing cold. His body felt heavy. His mind resisted movement. Every excuse appeared instantly. But something different happened. Instead of arguing with himself, he stood up immediately. No debate. No emotional discussion. Just action. That single decision felt powerful. Not because it was dramatic. Because it proved something important. He could override emotion. That realization became addictive. Day after day, he repeated the same process. Action first. Feelings second. And slowly, discipline stopped feeling impossible. Because he removed negotiation entirely. This is where consistency is built. Not through motivation. Through obedience to decisions already made. The Stoics understood that emotions are unreliable leaders. Your feelings change constantly. But principles remain stable. A disciplined person does not ask themselves whether they feel like acting. They already decided. That removes internal conflict completely. Most people exhaust themselves mentally before taking action. They debate every difficult thing. Should I work out? Should I focus? Should I keep going? The disciplined mind eliminates the debate. And once that happens, consistency becomes dramatically easier. A Roman Stoic teacher once said that no man becomes strong accidentally. Strength is trained deliberately. Every difficult action strengthens identity. Every avoided action weakens it. This is why small decisions matter enormously. Making your bed when you feel lazy matters. Finishing work when distracted matters. Training when exhausted matters. Because those moments are never just moments. They are identity training. Every action teaches your mind who you are. The weak mind negotiates constantly. The disciplined mind acts immediately. That is the difference. And over time, that difference becomes destiny. 2. Your feelings are lying to you. Most people obey emotion more than reason. That is why their lives remain unstable. They work when inspired. Rest when discouraged. Quit when uncomfortable. Their entire future becomes controlled by temporary feelings. But emotions are unreliable. They change constantly. 1 hour you feel confident. The next hour you feel doubt. One morning you feel motivated. The next morning you feel empty. If your actions depend on emotion, your consistency will always collapse. A young athlete once struggled with this for years. Some days he trained intensely. Other days he skipped practice completely. His performance was unpredictable because his discipline was emotional. Whenever motivation appeared, he felt unstoppable. But the moment discomfort arrived, everything changed. Fatigue became an excuse. Stress became an excuse. Mood became an excuse. Deep down, he knew the truth. His emotions controlled him. One evening after practice, his coach sat beside him quietly. The coach had watched him waste years of potential. Finally, he spoke. "Your feelings are destroying your future." The sentence sounded harsh. But it was true. The coach continued. "If you only train when motivated, you are training weakness." That sentence stayed in his mind all night. Because for the first time, he understood something powerful. Motivation was never supposed to lead him. Discipline was. The next morning, he woke up exhausted. Nothing inside him wanted to train. His body resisted movement. His mind searched for excuses instantly. But then he remembered the coach's words. "Your feelings are destroying your future." So he got up anyway. The workout felt terrible. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Painful. But when it ended, something unexpected happened. He felt stronger mentally than ever before. Not because the workout was perfect. Because he proved he could act despite emotion. That moment changed everything. He stopped worshipping motivation. And started respecting discipline. Weeks passed. Then months. And gradually, consistency became part of his identity. Not because motivation increased. Because emotional control improved. This is what Stoicism teaches deeply. Feelings are temporary experiences. Not commands. You acknowledge them. But you do not obey them blindly. The Stoic understands something dangerous about emotion. Emotion magnifies temporary discomfort into permanent excuses. Your mind says, "You're too tired. This can wait. You deserve comfort." But most of those thoughts are lies designed to protect comfort. And comfort rarely creates growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote constantly about controlling internal reactions. Not because emotions are evil. But because uncontrolled emotion creates weak decisions. The disciplined mind separates feeling from action. You may feel fear and still act. You may feel tired and still continue. You may feel doubt and still move forward. That is real strength. A businessman once experienced this lesson brutally. He started multiple projects every year. Each began with excitement. Energy. Passion. Vision. But eventually, the excitement faded. And when the emotion disappeared, so did the effort. Years passed like this. Half-finished goals. Unfinished plans. Unrealized potential. One day, he realized something painful. He had trained himself to quit whenever emotion changed. That realization terrified him. Because he finally understood why consistency felt impossible. His emotions controlled his standards. So he changed one rule completely. No matter how he felt, he would complete the daily standard. Even minimally. Even imperfectly. But consistently. At first, it felt robotic. Almost unnatural. But eventually, something incredible happened. He stopped fearing emotional fluctuations. Because he no longer depended on them. He became stable. Reliable. Consistent. And that consistency transformed every area of his life. This is why Stoicism remains powerful thousands of years later. Because it teaches mastery over internal chaos. Most people are defeated by themselves long before life defeats them. Their emotions sabotage their future daily. But when you stop obeying every feeling, your life changes dramatically. You begin acting based on principles instead of moods. And principles create stability. The Stoics believed freedom begins internally. A man who cannot control his impulses is not free. A person who depends entirely on emotion will always remain fragile. But the moment your actions become stronger than your feelings, you become dangerous. Dangerously disciplined. Dangerously focused. Dangerously consistent. That is where transformation truly begins. 3. Comfort is destroying you. Comfort feels safe. That is why so many people become trapped inside it. Comfort asks nothing from you. No sacrifice. No discipline. No resistance. And slowly, it weakens the mind. Most people never notice this happening. Because comfort feels pleasant in the moment. Sleeping longer feels harmless. Avoiding difficulty feels harmless. Escaping discomfort feels harmless. But over time, comfort reshapes identity. A man once built his entire life around avoiding discomfort. Every decision centered around ease. He chose entertainment over effort. Convenience over discipline. Pleasure over growth. At first, life seemed enjoyable. Stress stayed low. Responsibilities stayed manageable. But slowly, another feeling appeared. Weakness. Small challenges overwhelmed him emotionally. Simple discipline felt impossible. Focus disappeared quickly. His mind constantly searched for escape. One afternoon, his company faced serious financial problems. Suddenly, pressure entered his life intensely. Long work hours. Hard decisions. Uncertainty. And immediately, he collapsed mentally. Anxiety controlled him completely. Not because he lacked intelligence. Because he lacked endurance. Years of comfort had made him fragile. That realization shattered him internally. For the first time, he saw the truth clearly. Comfort had not protected him. It had weakened him. That moment became a turning point. He decided to train himself differently. Every day, he intentionally embraced controlled discomfort. Cold showers. Early mornings. Hard exercise. Focused work without distraction. At first, his mind resisted violently. Everything felt difficult. His brain screamed for comfort constantly. But he continued. Day after day. Week after week. And slowly, something changed. Discomfort stopped feeling threatening. His tolerance increased. His resilience improved. His discipline strengthened. And most importantly, his confidence transformed completely. Because confidence is not built through comfort. It is built through surviving difficulty repeatedly. The Stoics trained this deliberately. They practiced hardship voluntarily because they understood an important truth. If you cannot endure discomfort voluntarily, life will eventually break you involuntarily. Hardship is unavoidable. Pain is unavoidable. Difficulty is unavoidable. The question is whether your mind is prepared for it. Modern life makes this problem worse. Everything is designed for comfort now. Instant entertainment. Instant pleasure. Instant distraction. People become addicted to stimulation and convenience. And because of that, their ability to endure difficulty collapses. Attention spans weaken. Discipline weakens. Mental endurance weakens. Then real adversity appears. And they cannot handle it. A disciplined mind must be trained against comfort deliberately. Not because suffering is good. But because resilience is necessary. A boxer once explained this perfectly. He said the hardest part of training was never physical pain. It was the moment his mind begged him to stop. That moment defined everything. Because every time he continued despite discomfort, he strengthened identity. He proved to himself that pain would not control him. That lesson applies to every area of life. Every difficult workout. Every focused work session. Every resisted temptation. All of it is mental training. And over time, that training creates a person who can endure pressure calmly. The Stoics admired this deeply. Not reckless suffering. Controlled self-discipline. Because disciplined discomfort builds internal freedom. When you can handle discomfort voluntarily, fear loses power over you. You stop running from difficulty. You stop depending on convenience emotionally. And that changes your entire life. Most people are not defeated by external obstacles. They are defeated by internal weakness created through years of comfort. But when you train yourself to endure difficult things consistently, your standards rise dramatically. Your confidence changes. Your focus changes. Your discipline changes. Because you no longer fear discomfort. You use it. And that is when consistency becomes powerful. If this is changing your mindset, subscribe to this channel to get more of this. 4. Your habits reveal your future. Most people are obsessed with goals. They talk constantly about success. About becoming rich. About changing their lives. But their habits tell a completely different story. That is the brutal truth nobody wants to hear. Your future is not hidden in your dreams. It is hidden in your daily routine. A young businessman once spoke confidently about becoming successful. Every conversation sounded ambitious. He discussed wealth. Freedom. Big plans. Big visions. People around him believed he was serious. But privately, his habits exposed reality. Late mornings. Constant distractions. Hours wasted online. Inconsistent effort. His actions contradicted his goals daily. Months passed. Then years. Nothing changed. The dreams remained dreams. One evening, he visited an older mentor he respected deeply. The mentor listened quietly while the young man explained all his goals again. When he finished speaking, the older man asked one simple question. "What did you do today?" The question felt strangely uncomfortable. Because suddenly, the fantasy disappeared. The businessman described his day honestly. Wasted time. Distraction. Minimal focus. The mentor nodded slowly. Then he said something that changed his life forever. Your future already exists inside your habits. That sentence stayed in his mind for weeks. Because it forced him to confront reality honestly. He realized success was not created through desire alone. It was created through repetition. Daily actions. Daily discipline. Daily standards. From that moment forward, he stopped obsessing over goals emotionally. And started building systems instead. He created structure. Morning routines. Focused work hours. Daily reading. Consistent exercise. At first, the changes felt small. Almost insignificant. But over time, something powerful happened. His identity changed. Because habits repeated consistently become personality. This is why Stoicism values routine so deeply. The Stoics understood that character is built through repeated behavior. Not intention. Anyone can speak about discipline occasionally. Very few people practice it daily. A writer once struggled with consistency for years. He dreamed of publishing books. But he only wrote when inspiration appeared. Some weeks he felt productive. Other weeks he disappeared completely. Eventually, frustration consumed him. Because he realized something painful. He loved the idea of being a writer more than the daily habit of writing. That realization changed his approach completely. He created one simple rule. Write every day. Even if the writing felt terrible. Even if inspiration disappeared. At first, progress felt slow. But months later, his life transformed. Not because he suddenly became more talented. Because consistency compounded. That is the hidden power of habits. Small actions repeated daily become enormous results eventually. Most people underestimate this completely. They want dramatic transformation immediately. But real transformation happens quietly. One disciplined morning at a time. One focused hour at a time. One repeated action at a time. The Stoics understood patience deeply. Nature itself grows slowly. Trees do not appear overnight. Strength does not appear overnight. Mastery does not appear overnight. Everything meaningful is built gradually through repetition. This is why your habits matter more than your motivation. Motivation fluctuates constantly. Habits create stability. A disciplined habit removes decision-making fatigue. You no longer waste energy debating whether to act. The behavior becomes automatic. And once discipline becomes automatic, consistency becomes powerful. A musician once explained this beautifully. He said audiences only see performance. But performance is built through thousands of invisible repetitions nobody witnesses. Hours of practice. Mistakes corrected daily. Consistency repeated privately. That invisible repetition creates visible mastery. Life works exactly the same way. People admire successful individuals publicly. But they rarely see the habits that created them. The early mornings. The repeated sacrifices. The disciplined routines. Success always has invisible foundations. And those foundations are habits. The terrifying part is this. Bad habits compound too. 1 hour wasted daily becomes years lost eventually. One excuse repeated daily becomes identity eventually. One distracted routine becomes a distracted life eventually. That is why awareness matters. Every repeated behavior is shaping your future right now. Whether you realize it or not. The Stoic asks constantly. What kind of person am I becoming through my actions? That question changes everything. Because it forces honesty. You can no longer hide behind dreams while your habits destroy them quietly. Eventually, reality exposes everyone. Your habits always reveal truth. Not your words. Not your intentions. Not your fantasies. Your habits. That is why discipline is powerful. Because disciplined habits create disciplined identity. And disciplined identity creates extraordinary results over time. 5. Nobody is coming to save you. This is the lesson that changes everything permanently. Most people spend years waiting. Waiting for motivation. Waiting for opportunity. Waiting for confidence. Waiting for rescue. But life does not reward waiting. A man once blamed everything for his situation. His childhood. His environment. His finances. His bad luck. Every excuse felt justified. And honestly, some of them were real. Life had been difficult. But despite all his explanations, one truth remained unchanged. Nothing improved. Years continued passing. Dreams stayed unfinished. Goals stayed distant. Potential stayed buried. One night, after another wasted day, he sat alone in silence. No distractions. No entertainment. No noise. Just his thoughts. And for the first time in years, he stopped lying to himself. A terrifying realization appeared clearly in his mind. Nobody was coming to save him. No perfect mentor. No magical motivation. No sudden opportunity. Just him. His discipline. His habits. His choices. At first, that realization felt painful. Heavy. Because it destroyed every comforting excuse instantly. But slowly, another feeling appeared beneath the fear. Freedom. Because if nobody was coming to save him, then everything depended on his actions. Not luck. Not timing. Not emotion. Action. The next morning, he woke up differently. Not motivated emotionally. Clear mentally. He stopped waiting to feel inspired. And started building discipline regardless of mood. He woke up earlier. Worked harder. Complained less. Focused longer. At first, progress felt invisible. But over time, everything changed. His confidence increased because he trusted himself more. His discipline increased because excuses disappeared. His future improved because his actions improved. This is one of the deepest Stoic principles. Focus entirely on what you control. Not what you wish would happen. Not what other people should do. Not what life owes you. Your responsibility is your response. That is where power exists. Most people remain weak because they secretly want rescue. Someone to motivate them constantly. Someone to push them constantly. Someone to believe in them constantly. But real growth begins when external dependence ends. The Stoics believed self-mastery was freedom. Because a person controlled entirely by outside circumstances is emotionally fragile. If praise disappears, they collapse. If motivation disappears, they quit. If life becomes difficult, they break. But the disciplined mind becomes internally stable. Action no longer depends on ideal conditions. You move forward regardless. That is power. A soldier once described this mentality perfectly. He said the strongest people are not fearless. They simply act despite fear repeatedly until fear loses authority over them. That lesson applies everywhere. Business. Fitness. Relationships. Life. Waiting creates weakness. Action creates momentum. The moment you stop waiting for rescue, your standards rise dramatically. You stop asking life for permission. You stop asking emotions for permission. You stop asking comfort for permission. And you begin taking responsibility fully. That responsibility transforms identity. Because now, every result becomes connected to your actions directly. And once that connection becomes clear, discipline stops feeling optional. It becomes necessary. This is why Stoicism remains timeless. Because it teaches radical personal responsibility. Not blame. Power. The power to govern yourself regardless of circumstance. The power to continue despite difficulty. The power to remain disciplined while others collapse emotionally. That is dangerous consistency. And once you develop it, your entire life changes. Not instantly. But permanently. Consistency is not a talent. It is not something you are born with. It is something you build through repetition. Through discipline. Through awareness. Through control. Most people never become consistent because they keep relying on emotion. But emotion is unstable. It changes daily. That is why their progress keeps collapsing. But now you understand something deeper. Discipline is not emotional. It is structural. Built through habits. Reinforced through repetition. Strengthened through discomfort. Every lesson in this video points to one truth. Your life is being shaped quietly every day. Not by big moments. But by small repeated actions. And if you change those actions, you change your entire future. Not instantly. But permanently. That is the power of Stoic thinking. You do not chase motivation. You build systems. You do not depend on feelings. You depend on discipline. You do not wait for change. You create it. Starting now. If this video opened your eyes and pushed you toward discipline, subscribe to this channel to get more of this. Because a disciplined mind is one of the most powerful weapons a person can build.